5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. The court convened at the scheduled hour with the presiding officer taking his seat on the bench. The counsel for the petitioner was present and submitted that the matter under consideration involved substantial questions of law. He argued that the impugned order passed by the lower authority was in contravention of the principles of natural justice and had caused irreparable harm to the rights of the petitioner. It was further submitted that the petitioner was neither given adequate opportunity of being heard nor was any notice served prior to the initiation of the proceedings. The learned counsel drew the attention of the court to the relevant documents placed on record, which demonstrated that the respondent authority acted in undue haste and failed to comply with the procedural safeguards. According to the petitioner, the entire action was vitiated due to lack of fairness and transparency. He urged the court to set aside the impugned order and grant appropriate relief in accordance with the law. On the other hand, the counsel appearing for the respondent submitted that the proceedings were conducted strictly in accordance with the applicable rules. He stated that sufficient opportunity was granted to the petitioner, but the petitioner failed to avail of the same. It was also contended that the allegations of bias and prejudice were unfounded and devoid of merit. The respondent's counsel maintained that the action taken was lawful, justified, and warranted under the circumstances. The court, after hearing the submissions made by both sides, observed that the matter required detailed examination of facts as well as the legal position. It noted that the principle of audi alteram partem was a fundamental requirement of justice and that no person should be condemned unheard. The court emphasized that authorities vested with statutory powers must act in a manner that is fair, just, and reasonable. Any action taken without affording proper hearing cannot be sustained in the eyes of law. While perusing the case file, the court found that there was no document available to prove that a notice was duly served upon the petitioner before the order was passed. The absence of such notice cast serious doubt on the validity of the proceedings. The court held that procedural lapses could not be condoned when they result in the violation of fundamental rights of the individual. It was held that principles of due process must be observed at every stage. The court further clarified that even in administrative matters, the requirement of fairness could not be dispensed with. It relied upon several decisions rendered by higher forums where similar issues had been addressed. The court reiterated that justice must not only be done but must also appear to be done. Mere compliance with formality would not suffice unless the essence of fair play was preserved. In light of the above findings, the court proceeded to allow the petition and quash the impugned order. It directed the respondent authority to initiate fresh proceedings, if so advised, strictly in accordance with law and after affording full opportunity of hearing to the petitioner. The court also directed that a copy of this order be forwarded to the concerned authority for compliance. During the course of arguments, the court made certain observations regarding the increasing number of cases arising out of administrative arbitrariness. It stressed upon the need for capacity building among officers entrusted with decision-making powers. Training and sensitization towards legal requirements and constitutional values were deemed essential to ensure that such lapses were not repeated in the future. The court appreciated the assistance rendered by the counsels and concluded the hearing with an observation that rule of law must be upheld in all circumstances. The file was ordered to be consigned to the record room after due compliance. In another matter listed for hearing the same day, the petitioner challenged the inaction on the part of the authorities in not deciding his representation despite repeated reminders. The petitioner had submitted his grievance through proper channel and awaited a response for a considerable period of time. The counsel submitted that the delay was arbitrary, unjustified, and caused hardship to the petitioner. The court asked the counsel for the respondent to explain the reason for such delay. The counsel stated that the matter was under active consideration and would be decided shortly. However, no specific time frame was mentioned. The court expressed dissatisfaction with the casual approach adopted by the department and stated that unexplained delay in administrative decision-making was violative of the right to fair treatment. The court directed the respondent to consider and dispose of the representation within a stipulated period. It also made it clear that failure to do so would amount to contempt of court. The matter was disposed of with this direction, and the compliance was to be reported within the time granted. Further, in a civil appeal concerning interpretation of contractual terms, the appellant argued that the lower court failed to appreciate the true intent of the parties at the time of execution of the agreement. It was submitted that the contract was not just a mechanical arrangement but involved mutual understanding and specific obligations. The court examined the clauses in detail and noted that the terms were clear and unambiguous. The intention of the parties could be gathered from the plain language used in the document. The court observed that interpretation of a contract must be guided by the express terms rather than assumptions or extraneous factors. Where the words are clear, there is no scope for adding meanings that were not intended. The court reiterated that parties are bound by the contract they sign and cannot later resile from its obligations merely because the terms are unfavorable. The appeal was dismissed with these observations. The court questioned the department on the basis for denial. The respondent failed to provide a satisfactory explanation and merely stated that the selection committee exercised its discretion. The court held that discretion must be exercised on reasonable grounds and not arbitrarily. Stop.